Starting off with the first sets of images from low light condition, this one was taken with the ultrawide sensor. This one is from the Pixel, and this one is from the Huawei. Now, one thing that you notice right away is that the Pixel has this darker exposure, while the Huawei is brighter and has that punchy color. Now, in truth, in reality, it's supposed to look like this because this part of the house is kind of dark because the light does not reach here. So in terms of accurate rendition of the scene, this is it. But in terms of quality and exposure, I kind of like the way Huawei did this. If we were to take a look at the fur, it is rendered a lot better than what's going on with the Pixel, but you have to praise the Pixel and the Huawei's ability to control noise. Like, it's trying to control noise, but I feel like Huawei did a better job. But then again, the Huawei has that larger ultrawide sensor, and also larger aperture, so it's not really fair to say, like, to like really judge this image. But then again, in terms of quality and exposure, I definitely like the Huawei a lot better here. And the color of my cats here is a lot more accurate, like, yeah, almost accurate. Well, this one, the Pixel does not kind of like rendered or like expose my cat pretty well, but then again, we can't really compare. But if I were to take a look at the to take a winner, I will definitely give this set of images the win to the Huawei, just because how well it exposed the image and how well it renders the detail and how much better it is at controlling noises. So that's that. And now we're going to take a look at the sets of images from the main sensor. This one was taken with the Pixel and this one was taken with the Huawei. Now, taking a look at this image back to back, the Pixel did a better rendition of the image, while the Huawei goes for that warmer white balance. Now, in this case, I like how the Pixel rendered the image, and when it comes to the quality of the image, I believe that the Huawei did it better, especially here, but then again, Huawei has that tendency to like over sharpen everything. So, but then again, the color here, or like the rendition here, is not that good because of the light here is supposed to be, the light here is white, so the rendition is supposed to be closer to white instead of warm color. But in terms of like overall look and feel, and then exposure, I like the Pixel because how it render the scenes more accurately and how it expose everything a lot better, especially this area of the image where the Huawei is like keeping it dark. So it's not really like Huawei to like keep things dark, because it's always going to have this night processing going on, but then again, it chooses to like render this part like with a lot more shadow. So for the main sensor, I will give the win to the Pixel because of how well it rendered the overall image. And now we have the 5x shot, also taken with the main sensor. This one is from the Pixel, and this one is from the Huawei. Now, both utilizes main sensor and not the periscope sensor. So here you can see that how Huawei like brighten everything up and then like go against kind of like its whole processing. Like, yeah, it's like really brightening the image up, while the Pixel maintained the same, almost the same processing from the main sensor, and renders this overall image more accurate to the scene. Now, if we were to zoom in just for fun, I feel like the Huawei seems to like try to like render more details, but not doing a good job. Because then again, it's like too bright, and then it's like so digital and like too much artifact going on. So for this sets of images, I'm going with a 5x shot from the Pixel, because how it renders the detail without making it look like this, like it's like watercolor painting. So yeah, but then again, even without zooming in, you kind of like see how terrible it is at rendering this whole image, while the Pixel, you can tell it's almost normal. You can almost like not tell that it was taken with the main sensor. So, but then again, when we zoom in, you start to see the image falling apart. But if we were to take a look like at this image like this, I think you would definitely pick the Pixel as the winner. So for this set of images, I'm definitely going to give the win to the Pixel. So you have a look at the images from the indoor, like sample images from indoor taken with the normal mode in low light. Now we are going to take a look at low light images from that was taken outdoor. So there are going to be a lot more than what is indoor, because I feel like this is something that everybody would like to know, because then again, really like the processing, you like it's like you are really testing the processing ability when you are taking the picture low light, because when you're outdoor there is no guarantee that you get enough light to generate that image. So I feel like taking a lot more outdoor shot does make sense. Anyways, one thing that I noticed when taking low light images is that the pixel has tendency to like really allowing a lot of noises, and then these are true in both normal mode and night mode. So if you can spend time like if you have like a lot of time to spare, I definitely recommend you to use the night mode and then the highest setting available, because a lot of these photos came out very noisy. So yeah, you're gonna see that in further in this compilation or comparison. But now we are going to take a look at sets of images in super low light situation outdoor. This one was taken with the ultra wide sensor. So this one is from the Pixel and this one is from the Huawei. Now again, here the Pixel refused to render this image. It's like giving you this pitch black image because this is what the Huawei is able to render. Now, in terms of time, both doesn't have like, it's like taking this image under 1 second. So this is what the Huawei rendered, but it do have that higher ISO, like up to 400,000, while the Pixel is just at 4,000. So anyways, this is what you get from the Huawei, thanks to a larger sensor and also larger aperture opening. So yeah, even though it's not great, but it is kind of show you what's going on in the photo, unlike what's going on in this situation, unlike the Pixel. The Huawei at least tried something to do something, but it has a lot of this weird artifacting noise or flickering, and then the picture itself is not in focus. But then again, you can tell what's going on. So there are houses, and then there are kind of like boat or whatever, and then there are trees. So here, this is where I like the night processing. Like this is what your smartphone is supposed to be able to do. Like I don't. Like I'm not really obsessed with the all natural. So, but then again, an option like if I turn off the night mode, or like if I want to like reduce the intensity of the night mode, I should be able to do that. But then again, in this situation, I feel like Huawei algorithm really do shine through, like Huawei hardware and algorithm really do shine through in this case, because like the Pixel literally refuses to render the image. So again, anyway, this photos from Huawei is not great, but it does show you what is going on in this situation. Even under 1 second exposure. So this is good enough. Not in the sense that it's great or anything, but it is at least there is something when compared to the pitch black photos like the Pixel. So yeah, again, I'm not really that kind of person that are obsessed like natural photo or like rendered image like or like saying like the night mode turn the picture into daylight images. So I'm not like obsessed, because at the end of the day, you are holding a supercomputer in your hand, and and it has already broken so many restriction that real cameras have. So I'm just here appreciating this. But then again, option to like reduce the intensity is really great, because then again, I don't want to end up looking to the looking at a black screen. But even though there are picture, like yeah, here the Pixel just refused to render the image, while the Huawei does sort of a little better, but still terrible. But in this case, I can't really pick a winner. But then again, if you just want to see what's going on in this super dark situation without activating the flash, this is what you get with the Huawei. And I need to remind you that this is not a night mode, this is a normal mode. So this is what you get from the Huawei. But then again, it's not really usable, but it is what it is. This is what you get with such a limited time of exposure. So yeah. And now we're looking at the sets of images from the main sensor. This one is from the Pixel and this one is from the Huawei. Now again, the Pixel refused, in its normal mode, refused to render the image. In terms of the seconds span, still the same. The main sensor of the Huawei is still goes by that under 1 second exposure. Both are 1 second exposure, just the Huawei taking a lot more, a little bit more of time, but then again, it is still under 1 second, and the ISO here is higher, like almost the same, like but definitely higher than the Pixel. Now again, between these two, and again I would like to remind you that this is not night mode, this is normal mode. So again, I kind of like the way it renders the image, even though it lacks the focusing. Like I don't know where the focusing go, but it does expose the image. So in this image, it makes you see, it renders it in the sense of almost daylight. Like the way it renders the image is almost feels like you're in daylight. But again, this is actually nighttime, and it was taken at 10:27 p.m. So yeah, super low light situation, but I love the way it rendered it. It's just like focus and a lot of noises. But compared to the ultra wide photos, this one is a lot more brighter. Like the exposure is a lot more even, and you can tell what's going on in this like situation or in this place without trying too hard. Like here we have a sampan, a house, a window, light source, and then someone's house wall, and then we have smudges of plants and banana trees. So yeah, again, I stand by my words. I do believe this is what we should be getting, but of course it needs to be better, sharper, like in focus, and then the rendition should be a lot better. But then again, in just under 1 second, you get all of this. So this is really great compared to the Pixel. But again, it's still not like usable. For comparison, yes, it is good, but it is not like usable. It's just good. But then again, this is what should be your smartphone should be doing. But again, I do believe in options. So if you like to control the intensity, like the ability to control, I do believe in the ability to control. Like you can choose to like turn off the night mode completely or have that semi night mode on. But then again, I do love this like scenes reproduction, even though it does not really display night mode. So it's not like really keeping it natural. But then again, I do accept it and I like it. So I don't think I should give the win to the Huawei. I just wanted to show you guys how well the night mode processing is on the Huawei P40 Pro, even in normal mode. It is this one. This image is from the Pixel, and this image is from the Huawei. So anyways, again, there is no, this was taken in a normal mode, no night mode being activated. So in this case, the Pixel did render it, and then like keeping things dark, while the Huawei render it and then have a better render it and then show like a render it with better exposure. Now, if I were to like zoom in, you can see that there are noises and then smudges going on, like especially in this brighten up part of images compared to compared to the Pixel. While it is better, the quality of the image, while it is like better in exposure, it does introduce a lot of that noises. While the Pixel here does not produce a better produce a darker exposure. When it comes to the timing or like time taken to like expose this image, it is still under 1 second. The difference is that the Huawei uses 12,000 ISO while the Pixel goes for 2,000. So in terms of like quality, I don't think both are doing great. It's just that the rendition is just, I find, a lot better on the Huawei despite of its noises. But then again, I don't really zoom in, but if you don't zoom in into this image, I feel like a lot of people would prefer the Huawei, the way that Huawei renders this image. Like I kind of like the way it exposes this part of the basket here compared to the Pixel. But yeah, if you like to keep it real, this is what you should get, because then again, this is like real night, like real in low light, while the Huawei's do have that semi night mode processing going on. I feel like for this one, I'm giving it to the Huawei because it's brighter, and if we don't zoom in, I feel like a lot of people would agree that the Huawei here is more pleasing. And now we have sets of images from the main sensor. This one is from the Pixel, and this one is from the Huawei. Now both are still taken with the normal mode. Again, the Huawei with the better exposure, while the Pixel keeping it real. One thing that defeats the purpose of Huawei night processing is that it fails to remove this light glare. But then again, it's the same story. Like it's smudges, like there are smudges and then noises in this dark part of the image, while the Pixel render it really like sort of has darker exposure. Now both color reproduction of the street light is wrong. It's supposed to be very orange instead of this greenish, yellowish, and also wrong. So again, I find that the image from the Huawei main sensor, if taken with normal mode here, is a lot more pleasing when compared to the Pixel, if minus the algorithm failure to remove this light glare. And then I like how it also exposed this part, like this basket again. So I believe that the win again goes to the Huawei. But then again, if you I also, but as I say, I also believe in option. Like if you the ability to like tone down the night processing is also really good. But to be honest, I was expecting result like this when taking photos at night, because then again, the light situation is different anyway. So yeah, knowing that I can point at something and then it only take like less than 1 second to render this image, and then giving me this amount of exposure is a lot better than this. But then again, it is your own personal choice, personal preference. But yeah, for me, I prefer the Huawei here, and I'm gonna give it a win, or the win to the Huawei. So for fun, I tried to take 5x shot, but both didn't activate its periscope sensor, so it uses the main sensor instead. So this one is from the Pixel, and this one is from the Huawei. Now, this time, I like the way how Pixel renders the image, because it renders the street light more accurately. It is orange, but not this orange, it's this part of orange here. As for the Huawei, I feel like it is over sharpening the whole image a lot, and bear in mind that it's not using its periscope sensor because of the f9 stop here. So yeah. Now the whole algorithm smooths things out and introduce a lot of noises down here, while the Pixel kind of control the noise and then keep some of that like smudges or like things. But then again, you can't really tell what kind of smudges unless you see this picture on the daylight or in daytime. So yeah. So I might argue that this is actually something that the Pixel put to like kind of like give the illusion of detail, while the Huawei is just like masking the noises. But then again, I do accept the Pixel 5x shot because how well it renders the color, and then how it starts to match up with the Huawei's exposure here. But here is kind of weird. So even though this one is using its main sensor, similar to the main sensor, sets of main sensor, the color reproduction here is way off. So I'm not sure why it decided to go with this yellow, like render it's better this time. So it is what it is. I'm not sure how consistent it is. So yeah, but then again, the win does goes to the Pixel 5X shot. And now we have night mode activated on both Pixel and Huawei. Now, one thing I should note is that the Pixel here, both the Pixel and Huawei algorithm decide how long it wants to expose the, or like open the shutter to render the image. So yeah, I don't decide how many seconds it takes to expose the image. The algorithm did it. So yeah, but there are time like further in this comparison that I decided to like utilize the maximum number of the Pixel night mode. But in this case, I just use the predestined or like pre-programmed night mode that the algorithm chose. So anyways, here's the sample shot from the ultra wide sensor. This one is from the Pixel and this one is from the Huawei. So this is when the Huawei start to catch up a lot than the with the Huawei. So the Huawei here, to render this image, it takes 8 seconds and then 1600 ISO, while the Pixel took it under 1 second and then lower ISO. So it is it will produce most motion blur. So again, Huawei with its terrible kind of like rendition here, like even though it is like slightly brighter, but it's not really that superior. But then again, because of amount of time that shutter was open to like capture the light, there are bound to be human errors. Like there are some motion blur. So the Huawei algorithm failed to fix this image or like stitch it together. So there are motion blur going on. So yeah. But then again, because of how the Pixel only take less than 1 second, even in its night mode, to render this image, the image here turns out to be better. The rendition of the street light again is not correct, but I kind of like the way it starts to expose this basket here on the ultra wide sensor. And then of course, the Pixel do have also have that smudges and noises going on, but it is much more well controlled thanks to its algorithm. So anyways, for this sets of images, I'm going to give the win to the Pixel because how quick it is at exposing like time it needs to expose this image compared to Huawei that is less, that takes a lot more time, and then the quality is not that good, and then also introduce motion blur. So the win definitely goes to the Pixel for the ultra wide sensor night mode. Alright, now we're looking at this 1x shot from main sensor with the night mode enabled. So this one is from the Pixel and this one is from the Huawei. Now, starting with Huawei, the Huawei again is using a higher shutter, like longer shutter speed, while the Pixel has lower shutter speed but higher ISO. So the result is the Huawei started to introduce this motion blur. Like in terms of exposure, it appears to be a lot brighter than the Pixel, but then again at the cost of introducing motion blur, and the algorithm failed to fix or like to stitch this image. So it is not really that useful, and also it also fails to remove this like light glare. So again, I like the rendition of this Pixel 1x shot. We'll take it with night mode on. I like how it exposes this area again, and now it is a lot better at controlling noise. Like there are, and then like rendering the image is not as smudgy as the ultra wide sensor. So yeah, for this sets of photos from the main sensor with the night mode enabled, I'm going to give the win to the Pixel because how quick it takes to render this image and then how clean it is. And now we are looking at the 5x shot taken with the main sensor because the algorithm figured out there isn't much light, so it refuses to use its periscope sensor. Anyways, this one is from the Pixel and this one is from the Huawei. Now, this result is pretty similar to the normal mode because here the Pixel has that better rendition of the night, like of the street light, especially this part of this area here, but this here is kind of wrong. So yeah, now if we were to take a look at that back at that 5x rendition, like normal mode rendition here, the result is really similar except the framing of these photos. So yeah, it's not really taking like a lot more like compared to Huawei. Like the Huawei here takes 6 seconds to expose the image, but this time it's lower in ISO, still a little bit higher, like 7 number higher than those on the Pixel. But then again, the Pixel came out better, like better rendered, while the Huawei here is like very digital. Like here it starts to seems like it's introducing artifacting, which isn't there. Yes, like in the normal mode, in the 5x normal mode from the Huawei, it's not there. There's no purple light, while this one has purple light. So yeah, it starts to introduce something weird. In terms of exposure, seems like the Huawei did it better here, but then again, it's not really good by any margin. So so the win again goes for the pixel because how well it exposes the image and how clean it is and how natural it looks, and also how quick it is, how quick like how fast it is at rendering this image compared to the Huawei that needs at least 6 seconds to get this image and still look like artificially made. And now we're back again to the normal mode. This test was supposed to design the dynamic, was designed to test the dynamic range of this phone's algorithm. So this one is taken with the ultra wide sensor, and this one was taken with the ultra wide sensor also from the Huawei. So both are taken in the night mode just to test the algorithm. So here I do prefer the Huawei because of how sharp it looks, and the time taken is also similar. While the Huawei does have that higher ISO. So yeah, here I prefer the Huawei. But if I were to zoom in, you can kind of tell that there are a lot of noises and smudges going on. But then again, if we don't zoom in and look at it like this, I feel like a lot of people would have preferred the Huawei's normal semi-night mode processing. If we were to take a look at the Pixel, it is not really sharp, and it does have noises, like especially this part of the image and also down here. So it's not really that great. And you can even tell there are noises up here. So yeah, in terms of quality and sharpness and then rendition, the Huawei here did a better job compared to the Pixel. So here the win thus goes to the Huawei. And now we have sets of images from the 1x main sensor taken with the night mode disabled or taken with the normal mode. So this one is from the Pixel and this one is from the Huawei. So again, the Huawei with better exposure with less than 1 second, like the time it takes to expose this image is nearly similar. While here, the ISO for the Pixel seems to be higher, or like number is higher. So here I like the rendition of the Huawei, but it does introduce this noises and like smudges. But then again, you can definitely tell what's going on with this image, while the Pixel again decided to keep it dark. So, but it does render this part of the image here brighter, and it's doing a better job at hiding the noises, unlike the Pixel, like the ultra wide shots that are just like, even when you're not zooming in, you can tell there are a lot of noises going on. So yeah, the Pixel processing for its main camera here is a lot better than its ultra wide sensor. But then again, in terms of pleasantness or what looks pleasing, I definitely prefer the Huawei here. If only we don't zoom in, so nobody would notice the noises on this part of this image. But then again, I do like the Pixel and I do like the Huawei and how well it renders this overall image. So again, the win does goes to the Huawei again for this 1x main sensor dynamic range test. And now just for fun, this is also a test for it's also another dynamic range test taken with the 5x. This one is 5x shot taken with the periscope sensor on the Pixel. So I don't know why here the Pixel decided to utilize its periscope sensor, even though the light here is like very terrible. But the Huawei here uses its main sensor. So you can tell that the Pixel is using its periscope sensor by the f-stop or the aperture opening. So the aperture opening here is like 3.5 compared to 1.9. Anyways, the algorithm for the periscope sensor is the Pixel the Pixel algorithm for the periscope sensor is similar to its main sensor, as you can barely tell there are noises. But considering this image is a lot darker, less, so you can't really see it. But then again, even when I pixel peep, you can barely tell there are noises here. As for the Huawei, it utilizes its 5x, like its main sensor for its night 5x shot. So the result does look like it's digitally manufactured, so it doesn't look good. But then again, it did try to expose the image, and again, it took similar amount of time, almost similar amount of time, just higher ISO. So yeah, I don't want to say I like the rendition of the Huawei, but I can appreciate the ability to tell what's going on in this image compared to the Pixel, because in the Pixel, I can't tell what's going on, what I'm pointing at. So if I were to take a look at this image 5 years later, I'm not sure what I'm looking at. But yeah, but then again, I don't really want to give the win to the Huawei because it's not really that that organic. It feels too artificial to me. So the choice of the winner here is yours to make. And now we're looking at a set of images. Like this is another dynamic range test against the source of the light. The source of the light is directly blocking the subject or like the object of this image. So this one was taken with the night mode enabled. So this one was taken with the ultra wide sensor of the Pixel, and this one was taken with the ultra wide sensor of the Huawei. Again, the exposure difference here, the shutter speed exposure is that the Huawei needs 8 seconds to expose the image, while the Pixel still opted to use that lower shutter speed or faster shutter speed. So in terms of the rendition of this image, you can tell right away that the Pixel algorithm like failed to remove these noises, like there are noises going on. So even when I don't zoom in, you can tell the noises around in the sky. While compared to the Huawei did a better job at masking the image. But considering it takes so long to like expose the image, human human error does occur, so there are motion blur going on, but we can resulting of me not being able to judge this image accurately or fairly. But yeah, again, I feel like if we were to take a look without zooming in and like going away, like removing the motion blur, I think I prefer the Huawei here a little bit because of how it renders the sky. It renders the sky like it did a really good job at masking the noise, but then again I can't say the same to what's on the ground. But I kind of like the way it renders the sky. It's like keeping it dark while the pixel is like brightening it up and then introducing noises in the process. I feel like I don't really like want to give this a win to the Huawei because of the human error and how long it takes to render this image. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to give it a win to both to any of them. I'm not sure if we can correct this image by applying noise removing filter in some editing app. I feel like there aren't some noise removing filter in editing app. I'm pretty sure there is this feature on Adobe or something like that, but I'm not sure. So if we were to take as it is, I think I prefer the Huawei rendition here despite the motion blur. But in terms of quickness or speed in like rendering the image, it is the Pixel. But then again, at the cost of introducing a lot of light noise. And now we have another dynamic range test taken with the 1x main sensor. This one was taken with the Pixel and this one was taken with the Huawei, both with night mode enabled. So again, the Huawei opted to use to take 5 seconds of exposure to render this image, while the Pixel takes less than 1 second to render this image. The Pixel seems to have the Pixel appears to have higher ISO, while the Huawei is lower but also longer shutter speed. So anyways, in terms of rendition, I feel like both are similar, but the Pixel has done a better job at controlling the noises. Like if you have to really look for it like here to kind of see the noises. But in terms of practicality, I definitely would go with the Pixel because how quick it is to expose the image just to render this image. But then again, both has terrible color reproduction. The street light is not supposed to be this yellow green and this pale orange yellow look on the Pixel. It's supposed to be very orange. Now in terms of noises in the sky, the Pixel here is doing a much better job compared to the Huawei. Huawei seems to have introduced, seems to fail to remove the noise. And also a lot of noise down here and smudges. So yeah, in terms of practicality, I definitely going to give the win to the Pixel. Like the Pixel deserves to win this because how quick it is at taking or rendering, how quick the time it takes to render this image. And now we have normal mode again. This time to test the sky rendition or the rendition of the object far away. Starting off, this comparison is with the ultra-wide sensor. This one was taken with the Pixel and this one was taken with the Huawei. Now both are in normal mode. So this is what the Pixel rendered and this is what the Huawei rendered. So both took this image under 1 second, while the Huawei has appeared to use more ISO, has higher ISO. In terms of the exposure of this image, I like the way Huawei exposed this image, but it also terrible. In terms of control over noise, I feel like the Huawei did a better job in the center of this image. But if you were to take a look at this edge of this image, you can see how the algorithm starts to fall apart. And in terms of the sharpness, I noticed that the Pixel has better sharpness compared to Huawei. Now, in terms of the color rendition here is closer to reality. So I feel like this one is preference because for me, I feel like I should give the win to the Huawei because how well it exposes the object behind or like far away from like me from the person taking this image. But then again, this is just a fun comparison of how both renders the sky when there's not enough light. I like the way Huawei expose everything. It's not really well balanced, but then again, it does expose better, so you can see a lot more in your image. And the time it took to take this image is also the same, under 1 second. So I'm going to give the win to the Huawei for this ultra wide shot. So again, another faraway object rendition. This time it was taken on 1x main sensor with the night mode disabled or normal mode. This one was taken with the Pixel and this one was taken with the Huawei. Now, taking a look at this image back to back is that the Pixel here is like keeping it dark, but also tried to render this image, but failed because of how much of the noises it introduced in the image. While the Huawei renders a more brighter image, it's really not that good because if you were to zoom in, it looks rather artificial or like remade. So, but then again, if you were to take a look at this image without zooming in, you kind of like it. But you also notice that there are like sky, like noises in the sky. But then again, in terms of what is more pleasant to look at, I feel like most people would agree that the Huawei did better. While the Pixel keeping it real. But then again, I want to expose, like I want to show you this image with without activating the night mode. So both takes under 1 second. But the Pixel here has higher ISO compared to the Huawei. But yeah, the Pixel choose to keep it real, even though it failed to it tried to render this water tank here and the sky and end up introducing a lot of noises. The Huawei sort of has better rendition and better exposure, but also noises. And then if we were to zoom in, the water tank and the buildings, houses here appears to be more on artificially made. But then again, I think here the Pixel deserves the win because again, I find I find the Huawei is more pleasant to look at. So yeah, the win does goes to the Huawei despite its noises. And now we have 5x shot just for fun. This is also taken with the main sensor. This one is from the Pixel and this one is from the Huawei. Now, the Pixel again tries to keep it real, but also attempt to like expose this image while introducing a lot of noise. The Huawei here has like better exposure, but also a lot of noise, and that it's not even exposing this water tank that well. Like you can't really like see the pole. You can tell there are water tank, but the rendition here is not the best, but it has better exposure, and the time to take is nearly similar. But then again, to say that to give it a win, I don't think I want to give a win to any of these shots because both are terrible in its own way. So yeah, there is no win for this sample shot or like shots of 5x zoom with the main sensor. Okay, again with the landscape shot to test how well it exposes the sky, how well both phones exposes the sky, and then what can it brings out. So anyways, we have here image from the ultra-wide sensor. This one was taken with the Huawei and this one was taken with the Pixel. Now both have the ultra-wide mode enabled. The night mode enabled. So here again, the Huawei is with higher shutter, like the slower shutter and high ISO, while the Pixel is again with faster shutter and lower ISO. So here's is what the Pixel night mode rendition of the scene, while this is what the Huawei renders, how the Huawei renders the scene. Now, the Pixel ultra-wide sensor, again, have these huge noise issues, like, going on. So it fails, the Pixel algorithm fails to clean it up, while the Huawei did a better job at the cause of longer shutter, like longer shutter speed. So in terms of rendition, the focus is not there, like on that foreign or faraway object or subject. In terms of the cleanness, like or the noises control or noises masking, the Huawei did a good job, but it started to fall apart when you look at the edge of the photos. With the Pixel, on the other hand, it is better at bringing out details, like maintaining details. But in terms of exposing the image, I see that the Pixel does do better, but this part here is not really, it feels, as I said with the Huawei, it feels like it was artificially made, so it's not like organic or natural. So so yeah, both is not a winner, like both don't deserve to win. But one thing I want to point out on the Huawei's ultra-wide sensor shot is that the rendition of the street lights here is the most accurate compared to other pictures. And also here, like the middle line here is much more accurate than what you're looking at on like the nearest source of light. So yeah, both are not really doing a good job. Like the Huawei here is out of focus. The Pixel here is in focus, but it's so artificially made and has a lot of noise. So I don't want to pick these two as a winner, but then again, I should praise the Huawei for rendering the street light correctly this time. I don't think I should pick a winner this time, so the choice is yours. Which one do you think is the winner? And now we have the 5x shot from the main sensor. It's also with night mode enabled. So this one is from the Huawei and this one is from the Pixel. Now the Pixel does utilize its periscope sensor, but if we're because the here the f-stop or like the aperture opening here is 3.5. That is the periscope sensor aperture. So yeah, here the Pixel choose to utilize its periscope sensor, even though it is like super dark. But whatever, it is what it is. So in terms of rendition here, I like the Huawei, but it seems to feel fake. But like it's somewhere between the line of organic and artificial. But then again, I like the way how it controlled the noise. But the rendition here is not the best, but it is a lot better than the 5x shot on the normal mode, because here we can tell the pole and then we can kind of see the water tank. But if we were to compare with its normal 5x shot, it's just like this is just like a blur. The time it took to render this image is like 7 seconds, so it's not really that quick. But then again, considering that it's managed to like not have any motion blur, even though even though the longer you zoom in, the more unstable the photo does. I kind of like how the Huawei algorithm handle the rendition of this image. No, I feel like both are terrible, but in terms of how well it renders the image, I must give the win to the Huawei, just because how well it renders this image. And again, we have a landscape shot with normal mode. This one was taken with the ultra wide sensor. This one is from the Pixel and this one is from the Huawei. Again, the Huawei has produced a much brighter image at a cost of unable to control the light flare, while the Pixel, keeping it real, controlling the light here, like almost like no light flare. But the rendition of the color, like the color of the light from this house is really is wrong because it's supposed to be white like this. So between these two, I am not afraid to say that I prefer the one from the Huawei because you can see what you're pointing at without night mode processing, like crazy night mode processing that takes seconds. So this is like semi night mode or like the less intense version of the night mode. And honestly, I prefer this. Like for me, the Huawei, you should take the image with the semi night mode or like the normal mode with without activating the night mode. As for the Pixel, using the night mode is better. Like you get better shot with the night mode. So anyways, in terms of exposure, I like the way Huawei exposed the image. It seems to do a good job at masking or hiding the noises. You can still see smudges here, but that's okay. Yeah, the light flares kind of distracts you from it. Second, which Huawei, like I don't know what Huawei would do 5 years later, but yeah, I kind of wish like it has better control over this. Like this night flare is just like crazy, like feels like super bright. Like, but yeah, in terms of overall rendition of this image, I like the Huawei's just because if it is more pleasant. Okay, so yeah. The win does goes for the Huawei in this normal night mode landscape ultra wide sensor shot. So here another landscape shot taken with the 1x main sensor. So this one is from the Pixel and this one is from the Huawei without the night mode. So anyways, the Pixel maintains its darker exposure photos, keeping it real, but it also fails to render the light from this house, while the Huawei did a better job at rendering the whole image. And this time, the Huawei did a better job at controlling the light flare. It is not as jarring as the ultra wide photos, but still it fails to like completely remove because here like you can see the line from the light flares. In terms of control over the noise, the Huawei it seems to be able to hide the noise, but there are some smudges, especially this tree here, while the Pixel is just keeping it dark. So yeah, like I feel like the rendition of the sky is better on the ultra wide shot compared to the Huawei's main sensor. But in terms of overall exposure, I like how the way how the Huawei expose this image, giving us a better exposure and then more correct rendition of the light here. But when it comes to the street light, it is not quite orange. And then the Pixel here choose to make it like yellow and blue here and like yeah, whatever. But yeah, for this shot, I'm going to give the win to the Huawei, despite it fails to like maintain like the details of this top part of this image. But considering it does take similar time, just higher ISO, I feel like the Huawei really did a good job here. So yeah, the win goes to Huawei. And now we have the landscape shot here, taken with the periscope sensor at 15x. So this one is from the Huawei, and this one is from the Pixel, both with the night mode disabled. So yeah, both is using its periscope sensor if we were to take a look at its aperture opening. So 3.5 and 3.4. Anyways, both has high ISO. As for the Huawei, it does show its again has that haziness or cloudiness fade filter going on, while the Pixel is less hazy. But then again, both is not really that good at rendering the image. Like you can tell, right? If we were to zoom in, you can see the noises on the Pixel, and yeah, in the Huawei, like the haziness seems to appears to hide the noises. But then again, both are not really good and not really usable. But this is just a fun comparison, so it's not really meant to be used. So I don't want to give any win to any of these images. So it is up to you. Which one do you guys prefer? So yeah.